The first cash register was not invented to make checkout faster. It was invented because a business owner did not trust what happened inside the cash drawer. James Ritty ran a saloon in Dayton, Ohio. According to the Smithsonian, he became interested in a mechanism that counted the turns of a ship's propeller. If a machine could record rotation, perhaps another machine could record sales. Ritty patented an improved register in 1878. Early versions used keys and internal counters to record transaction amounts. Later designs displayed numbers and created paper records. The machine acquired a revealing nickname, Ritty's Incorruptible Cashier. Its purpose was accountability. A sale no longer existed only as a spoken price and a coin changing hands. The register produced evidence that an owner could compare with the money in the drawer. Ritty eventually sold the business. In 1884, John Patterson acquired the company that became National Cash Register, or NCR, and helped turn the device into a standard feature of modern retail. As registers evolved, they added printed receipts, item keys, taxes, inventory connections and electronic payments. The ornate brass machine became a plastic terminal, then a computer, and now sometimes a tablet. Yet the central idea has barely changed. A checkout system links three things: what was sold, what was paid, and what the business records. Without that link, a large store becomes difficult to manage. The cash register did more than protect money from theft. It made transactions countable, auditable and scalable. The old mechanical machines may look decorative today, but they helped transform shopping from a personal exchange into an information system. Every beep at a modern checkout is the descendant of a machine built to watch the cash. That is the short version of the cash register story. To understand why it mattered, we need to slow down and examine the entire system around it: the operator, the mechanism, the infrastructure, the economics, the social habits, the transition, the exceptions, and the legacy. Start with the human routine. The earliest cash register addressed an information problem. An owner could see money in a drawer but could not reconstruct every sale. The important comparison is not between human labor and a machine in isolation, but between two complete routines. A product earns a place in daily life when it removes decisions, interruptions, and opportunities for error as well as physical effort. Notice who begins the task, who watches it, who corrects it, and who cleans up afterward. Those quiet obligations often explain adoption better than a specification sheet. A faster mechanism can still feel slow when it repeatedly calls a person back into the process. Now look closely at the mechanism. Keys, counters, displays, and later paper records transformed a spoken transaction into evidence that could be checked after the customer left. A mechanism can appear simple after it becomes familiar, yet its design fixes a chain of choices about timing, force, feedback, and control. Those choices determine what the operator must still notice and what the product can safely decide by itself. The useful question is where judgment lives. It may sit in a lever, a gauge, a physical stop, a warning sound, or the practiced senses of the user. Later designs often look smarter because they move more of that judgment inside the product. The third layer is infrastructure. That record changed the relationship between owner and employee because trust could be compared with a machine-generated total. Objects do not spread on engineering merit alone. They rely on power, communications, roads, plumbing, retail, repair, standards, or trained workers. When that supporting network changes, the same object can move from essential to inconvenient without changing its physical form. Infrastructure is easiest to notice when it is missing. Once it becomes reliable, designers can assume it exists and remove features that once compensated for uncertainty. The next generation then appears simpler only because more complexity has moved out of sight. There is also an economic question. Standardized transaction records also allowed a business to compare shifts, locations, products, prices, and inventory at a larger scale. Buyers compare more than the price on the day of purchase. They also absorb time, maintenance, supplies, training, risk, and the cost of keeping an older system alive. A replacement becomes persuasive when the total burden shifts. Even if the original product still works, that burden is distributed unevenly. The purchaser, operator, repairer, employee, and family member may each experience a different cost. A successful product can therefore win by solving the problem of the person who makes the decision, even when another person performs the work. The social meaning matters too. The famous bell was not the core invention. The durable breakthrough was linking an action at the counter to an auditable record. Everyday products signal expectations about speed, cleanliness, status, privacy, responsibility, and skill. People may accept an awkward device when it represents progress, or abandon a capable one when its rituals begin to feel out of step with ordinary life. Advertising can amplify that shift, but it does not create it alone. Friends, workplaces, shops, and public institutions teach people what normal use looks like. Once the new behavior becomes ordinary, the old routine can seem demanding even to someone who once performed it without complaint. Replacement rarely happens in a single moment. Mechanical registers became electronic terminals, but each generation kept the same chain connecting item, price, payment, and account. Old and new systems overlap while prices fall, habits adjust, and supporting services reorganize. During that interval, decline can look slow. Once the surrounding network tips toward the replacement, however, the remaining market can contract with surprising speed. This is why a date of invention rarely marks a clean beginning, and a date of discontinuation rarely marks a clean end. The useful timeline follows access, affordability, confidence, and repeated use. Those changes can lag behind the laboratory by years or decades. The surviving exceptions are revealing. Modern checkout data now supports taxes, stock control, loyalty systems, and forecasting far beyond the original anti-theft purpose. A product that disappears from the mainstream can remain valuable in places with different constraints. Survival is evidence that design is always conditional. Convenience for one household or business may be fragility, waste, or unnecessary complexity for another. These holdouts are not simply people trapped in the past. They can be rational users optimizing for control, durability, independence, familiarity, or low operating cost. Looking at the exceptions protects the history from becoming a simple story in which every newer product is automatically better. Finally, consider the legacy. The register demonstrates how an ordinary object can turn a local exchange into a scalable information system. The most durable inheritance is often not the object itself but the behavior it normalized. Later products can hide the same task behind software, sensors, or a larger network, making yesterday's visible mechanism difficult to recognize inside today's routine. To find that inheritance, follow the promise rather than the shape. Ask what uncertainty the product removed, what action it made repeatable, and what expectation it taught users to carry forward. The casing may vanish while the promise becomes an invisible standard for everything that follows. Taken together, these layers explain why the cash register was neither a foolish dead end nor an inevitable step toward the present. It was a practical answer to one historical arrangement of labor, technology, cost, and expectation. Its rise shows what people urgently needed at that moment. Its decline shows which surrounding conditions changed. And its legacy survives wherever a newer product quietly performs the same job with fewer visible steps. That is why ordinary relics deserve more than nostalgia. They reveal the hidden systems inside everyday life.